Listen, if I gotta be called an African American, why Jamaican don't gotta be called African Jamaican, African Haitian, African Cuban, African Dominican? Why is America the only place where this colored people gotta call themselves African American? Then they try to make it seem like we hate ourselves.
This conversation is for Black Americans. Why do you claim to be an Aboriginal American Indian indigenous to America when in fact we are descendants of West Africans? From the time I was born until currently, there have been several different instances or groups that have come out and say, you know, we're the real Israelites, we're the real Jews, we're Egyptians, we're kings and queens. And it just proves the type of erasure that the colonial people did to us in America. We are in this country that is the world's sphere, and then Black Americans became the world stage. And so I think we over time had to feel the need to be greater than our story.
Have you ever wondered why Black people in America are the only ones consistently identified with the African prefix? Why aren't Black people from Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, or the Dominican Republic called African Jamaican or African Haitian? What's really behind this label, and what does it seem to apply only to Black Americans? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about a conversation that challenges the very idea of the term African American. I'll explore why some people see this label as an imposition and a denial of the indigenous claims to the land they live on. We'll hear from a couple of speakers who make compelling arguments about this unique and seemingly forced identity, quote unquote. They question why other groups are expected to do the same, and why this label seems to undermine a Black American's connection to the land. So these speakers are highlighting something fascinating using the movie Moana. If you watched Moana, where the indigenous people weren't told they had to identify as Africans. This raises a crucial question about who gets to claim indigenous status and who doesn't. So I'd ask you to stick around, because after the clips, we'll break down the nuances of this powerful argument. And while you're here, kindly be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments down below. Let us get into this because I'd like us to watch the clips, and then I'll be back to discuss everything with you.
Then everybody else hate themselves too, because nobody else is putting African in front of their shit. We could be indigenous all around the world, except for America. America's the only place that Black people wasn't. Everybody else get to claim their land. Even with that Moana movie, and people was like, oh, they're Black. And they was like, oh, we don't consider ourselves Black, or we don't consider ourselves African. We're not of African descent. Nobody bothered them. Nobody bothered them. But somehow Black Americans is on y'all mind so much that y'all want to tell us we African American. Well, y'all put African in front of all of y'all stuff, and then maybe we'll follow suit. Not going to bully me into something I don't want to motherfucker do. What's wrong with y'all? And don't come in my comments with that bullshit, okay? If you haven't done your genealogy or your motherfucking research, don't come in my shit talking shit. I will block you.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with our story and us existing in the Americas because of slavery, but that's not the start of our story. And I think you guys are giving that slavery aspect too much power, so you feel the need to be something greater than that. A lot of these claims stem from the fact that there were people who discovered, I use that term very loosely, there were people who explored the American continents far before Columbus. Abu Bakr II of the Malian Empire, he sent out a voyage of over 2,000 ships to go across the Atlantic, and they never returned. And that's how Mutamanta became that emperor, the richest man in the world. Scandinavians also landed in Canada in the North American continent 2 centuries before Columbus. So people have explored the Americas way before the Europeans discovered the Americas, but they did not settle here. People often talk about the slave ships. And there is nothing more documented by Europeans than their most lucrative entity ever, which was the transatlantic slave trade. It is documented in Africa. The kingdoms that also interacted with Europeans have oral and written history of them capturing and selling slaves to the Europeans. It was so lucrative for them that all of the slaves that were bought on the ships were backed by insurance policies. And some of the insurance companies we know today, like AIG, exist because they were there to insure slaves. Some of the people who captured slaves were throwing slaves off of the ships in order to gain money because they knew some of them were going to die anyway. So let's just kill them so we can get their insurance payment. And these things are heavily documented. It's not, especially when Native Americans are alive and well. I think as Black people, if you, a member of the colonized group in America, add to the erasure of Native Americans, it is the biggest slap in the face, especially because Native Americans document their history so well, orally and written. You can go to a reservation today and go to a Native American library. You can read firsthand accounts of how they lived pre the Columbian period and how they lived once they encountered the Europeans and once Africans came in and encountered with them. Now, it may be true that some of us have trace amounts of Native American DNA or large amounts of Native American DNA, because in the South, when the natives were captured, they were working side by side with the enslaved Africans and some of them procreated. That's a fact. That's not anything I would ever deny. Who you are, there's power and strength and what we've built and developed here. There's nothing, for me, being a member of the diaspora, there's nothing stronger and more beautiful in every single country that we exist in than the cultures that we've made, the food that we've created, the music we've created, and the fact that we're still here.
Great people, welcome back to the channel, and I hope those clips gave you a lot to think about. And the speakers in the clips make a number of powerful points about the term African American and the broader conversation around the identity and land. So I'd like us to break down the key arguments that they presented. And number one, let us take a look at the core of the frustration expressed by the second speaker, challenging the very notion of the African American label, questioning its exclusive application. They ask a simple yet a profound question, by the way. Why is this prefix reserved for Black people in America? The speaker points out that people of Jamaican, Haitian, Cuban, and Dominican descent aren't expected to use a similar prefix. This highlights a feeling that the term isn't a choice but an imposition, something being put on Black Americans. And this is a powerful point because it speaks to a sense of being unfairly singled out and forced into an identity that they do not desire. These are not my words, they are their words. And the speaker's refusal to be bullied into this identity, it is a clear assertion of their right to self-determination. And this brings us to the second point, the assertion of indigenous identity. And this speaker was arguing that Black people in America should have the same right to claim their land and indigenous roots as people in other parts of the world. But I think Black Americans, they come from Africa, so I don't know why they're arguing about this. Now let me use the example of this speaker of the movie Moana, where the characters were not pressured to identify as Black or African to underscore this unique situation. And they contend that America is the only place where Black people are denied this claim to indigeneity. Now, this perspective challenges the historical narrative that solely Black Americans, solely links Black Americans to the transatlantic slave trade, suggesting a deeper, more nuanced connection to the land itself. Now, the speakers demand for reciprocal identification, challenging others to put African in front of all of your stuff, is a potent way of highlighting the hypocrisy they perceive in this labeling, and it is a call for mutual respect and a reevaluation of how we talk about heritage and belonging. Now let us turn to the other side of the conversation, which was also presented in the clips, and the first speaker directly rejects the claim that Black Americans are indigenous or aboriginal to America. This speaker grounds the argument in historical and genealogical facts. They state that Black Americans are primarily descendants of West Africans, which is absolutely true, and I agree with this brother. And they were brought to the Americas through the well-documented transatlantic slave trade. This perspective is backed by extensive historical records, from European slave trade documents to the oral and written histories of African kingdoms. From this viewpoint, claiming indigenous status is seen as a major offense and a slap in the face to Native Americans, because America belongs to the Red Indians. And this argument emphasizes that Native American communities are alive and well with their own rich documented histories. Okay, it is a crucial counterpoint that highlights the importance of not erasing the distinct identity and history of Native Americans. While the speaker, he was acknowledging that some Black Americans may have Native American DNA due to historical intermingling, they are quick to clarify that this doesn't automatically make them indigenous. And this distinction is vital and speaks to the difference between having ancestry and being part of a specific unbroken lineage and cultural group. The speaker also speculates on the motivation behind these indigenous claims, suggesting they may stem from a desire to feel greater than our history, quote unquote, that began with slavery. This is a challenging and a thought-provoking idea. It suggests that some people might be seeking a new origin story to move beyond the painful history of the transatlantic slave trade. However, the speaker was arguing that there is nothing more beautiful than the resilience and creativity of the Black diaspora, whose cultures, food, and music have enriched every country they exist. And this argument reframes the narrative of slavery not as a point of shame, but as a foundation for a powerful global Black diaspora. And ultimately, both speakers emphasize the importance of personal research and genealogy. The first speaker uses it to validate their argument against indigenous claims, while the second speaker uses it to dismiss those who haven't done their own work. This shared emphasis on individual research is a key takeaway, and according to me, it suggests that identity is not something that can be imposed by external forces. I believe it is something deeply personal, rooted in one's own heritage and understanding. This conversation, it has revealed the complexity and deeply personal nature of identity. The term African American is far from a simple label, and for some it is a source of pride that connects them to the rich African heritage. For others, it is an imposed identifier that denies their connection to their land they were born on. They claim to be America, they claim to be Native American. So these two perspectives, while seemingly at odds, they both touch on a desire for dignity, historical recognition, and the right to define one's own story. It challenges us to think more deeply about the terms we use and the histories they present. So, what do you think? Do you agree with the argument that that the term African American is an imposition, or do you believe it accurately reflects to a crucial part of a person's heritage? I'd like you guys to share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what you think, and most importantly, don't forget to like this video so that it can be pushed to as many people as possible. Share this video with your brother, your sister, your uncle, your auntie, who you might think that they might need this video. And most importantly, turn on post notifications, because every day I do post new videos like this, and I'd like you to be the first person to watch them. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me. If you haven't already subscribed, kindly do so, because I'd like us to become a family. I'd like us to become a community. Thank you for watching. This is the Afro-Saharan, connecting Africa to the great Black diaspora. Peace out.